everyone. Before we start presenting our solution, Shayna here is going to talk a bit about the problem that we're solving.
In 2015, we as a global community agreed to the Sustainable Development Goals. We agreed that we would work towards SDG 4, quality education. Quality education must include access to quality resources. Often, these resources are copyrighted to recognize the labor and the interests of their authors. I want you to imagine that you're a student interested in cheese production, and you're doing research at a rich university. To access these copyrighted science journals and materials, your library gives you platforms, databases, research journals, and the average cost of a subscription is hundreds of dollars per year. In 2020, the median gross national income for less developed countries was $905 per year. If you are a student doing research there, paying for legal access is not an option. So you turn, of course, to the holy grail of free materials, to Sci-Hub, to LibGen, and good old photocopying. Now, I'm not going to ask you to stand up if you've ever used any of these materials to download content because, well, you'd be exposing yourselves as a criminal because it's illegal and it infringes copyright regulations. We wanted to balance the need to respect copyright with the need of all students to access knowledge. And surprisingly, the problem today isn't the absence of journals that are free and legally available. These are what we call open access resources, where authors authorize you to access it for educational purposes. The share of open access articles in academic publishing has actually grown from 36% to 57% over the last 10 years. And yet a study from Nigeria showed that up to 74% of students in less developed countries do not use these open access journals. So we seem then to have a solution. But why are we not seeing a large positive impact on students researching in the global south?
The first reason is that it's confusing to navigate the huge variety of open access resources that are available online today. Due to different country-specific copyright laws that apply to these resources, they are only legally available to some people in some countries under certain conditions. That is why we propose the creation of a common directory of existing open access resources. Here's what that might look like. So let's say you're a student interested in learning about, say, cheese production. So instead of trying to deal with your local university or individual journals that might not offer the information that you're looking for, you can simply go to this directory, select the country that you're studying from, and type in some keywords. Based on that input, this common directory will then direct you towards open access sites that both host relevant information to what you're looking for, and that can be accessed without conflicting with country-specific copyright laws. So now that you clicked on some article that's caught your interest, the directory takes you to a site that might look something like this. Now, apart from the common directory, we also propose a number of modifications to the existing open access resources in order to make them even more accessible, even easier to use, and as a result, even more powerful as a tool to combat educational inequality across the globe. For example, we suggest the wider adoption of a light mode, because in a setting where every megabyte counts, and most importantly costs, cutting down on loading images, logos, and other unnecessary data-costly content allows even students with low bandwidth internet connections to access educational content in a practicable manner. Which is why, when our cheese-making hobbyist student clicks on that link provided by the directory, he's not confronted with a waiting time of multiple minutes or even more until the content is loaded. We also give him a partial download option. To access his materials, he does not need to download the full 100-page paper, but can select to download only the 2 pages he really needs. This also cuts down on bandwidth.
Illegal download sites like Sci-Hub and LibGen are not a sustainable bridge across the educational divide. They are bridges that are built on taking work from researchers who have dedicated their lives to that research without their consent. They are libraries that are built on theft and which expose students to illegal malware and viruses. The legal conversation about educational use and intellectual property has been going on for 20 years. And yet we find ourselves today unable to agree on a harmonized international framework for copyright restrictions. The solution we present to you today is simple, but it is necessary, because right here, right now, there are students who do not have the access they need to bridge that divide. They don't have the journals they need, they don't have the materials they need, and they are turning to illegal sites to stop the resource gap, just as they have been doing for 20 years. We hope to ride on existing trends, like the increasing popularity of open access journals, to build a legal, an equitable, and accessible bridge across that resource gap. Just as we are doing at ISTF 2024, we hope that you will join us in ensuring that all students have the resources they need to engage in learning for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much already to the two of you for the great presentation, and I'd like to welcome on stage all the others of the group. So thank you again to all of you for your great work. I mean, it's a system that I haven't seen before, and I think this could actually work. So of course, I'd be glad if you could continue in really designing this platform, so this directory, so that everybody can access all these open resources. And what I like most about the idea is that you base it on already existing system, but try to facilitate the whole documents and the access to it in a way that you don't need so much time to search for everything, and that everybody really can use it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I absolutely agree on this point. I was amazed to see this solution, and I was also amazed by your work as a team, that we were able to witness that you used every single team member as your asset, and you were able to give us a very broad spectrum of interests that you thought about. Just before I open the platform for questions from the audience, the thing I see a bit with this model might be a very high cost that it's generating. We are adapting copywriting works, we're making them accessible, so people are involved in this. It will generate high cost. Maybe you could tell me where you would make a compromise in order to make it fly.
I can speak to. So the Sustainable Development Goals are a very trendy thing. I think even after 7-8 years, they still are. So we were thinking in terms of sustainable funding to also collaborate with the UN and other NGOs that have an interest in SDG 4 in order to channel funding towards the directory. But I think the second thing, and my favorite thing about this solution, is that it's not as astronomically high cost as you might imagine. We're not creating a complex website using AI or ChatGPT. We are simply using what we already have and optimizing it for environments where you may not have internet access, or your internet may be slow. So we are going from complex to simple. We're not going from simple to complex. And while that does incur cost, we believe that this allows us to help make it cost efficient. And by collaborating with existing stakeholders who have an interest in quality education, we will be able to find a sustainable financing model for our project.
Thank you very much. So please, if you have questions in the audience.
Actually, we're quite clear, it seems. Otherwise, if time is short, so perfect presentation. Thank you.